can I start?
Yeah, please.
Okay, sir. The struggle you are in today, having the strength to need for tomorrow. Honorable Chief Guest of the Day, Mr. Roy Kurien, Advisor to Medium-Sized Businesses, respected dignitaries, guests, delegates, and all the participants, a very warm good evening to one and all. I, Aishwarya, feel privileged to welcome you all to the 69th talk of the Intersociety Weekly Webinar Series, which is jointly organized by the IEEE Kerala section, the Institute of Engineers Kerala State Centre, Computer Society of India Trivandrum Chapter, Project Management Institute Kerala Chapter, the Internet Society Trivandrum Chapter, Vakkom Moulavi Foundation Trust Trivandrum, Life Member Affinity Group IEEE Kerala Section, IEEE EMBS Kerala Chapter, and the Institute of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering. Before we begin, I would like to run you all through the program protocols. I request all the participants to put your name in the Zoom platform that was used while registering for the event. All participants, except for the speakers, are requested to keep microphones muted and videos turned off throughout the session. Participants can type in their queries and questions in the chat window anytime during the program, which will be addressed in the Q&A session by the speaker. Kindly fill up the feedback form, which will be provided at the end of the webinar, and those who want the certificates of participation may mention the same in the feedback form. Now, moving on, I would like to welcome Ms. Amina from EMBS to welcome the virtual gathering. Amina, please.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. A warm good evening to one and all. It is my pleasure and privilege to welcome you all today on this spacious evening where we have our 69th talk of the Intersociety Weekly Webinar Series. This great venture initiated by Intersociety has been successfully coordinated throughout the past 68 talks and is going great with illustrious speakers and enthusiastic participants. Today's talk is not an exception. First and foremost, I welcome the respected guest of honor and speaker for the day, Mr. Roy Kurien, who is an advisor to small-sized businesses. He's a business leader having 35 plus years of experience in various industry segments. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and bestowing us with your presence today. Now, our ever-supporting pillar and backbone, Mr. A.G. Harindralal, sir, Chairman of Intersociety. To Ms. Adlat. Now gratifying my welcome to Ms. Adlat Bashir, IEEE volunteer, who will be introducing our illustrious speaker, and Ms. Nasma. Wholehearted welcome to both of you. I'd also like to extend my welcome to MC of today's session, Ms. Aishwarya, and Zoom facilitators, Ms. Sumaya. Last but the prominent of all the organizing societies, professionals, dignitaries, and delegates who have joined with us today. Words are in
Okay, thank you, Amina. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Adla from IEEE to introduce our speaker. Adla?
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you, Aishwarya. A warm good evening to one and all present in the Intersociety Weekly Webinar. Today, we have with us Mr. Roy Kurien, and I'm very happy to introduce our speaker, Mr. Roy Kurien. He is the business leader having more than 34 years of experience in the fertilizer, chemical, petrochemical, metallurgical, Rayon, Tyre, titanium dioxide industry segments. And he has been leading large business as CEO during the last 15 years with the Binani Group, K Birla Group, and PSUs, and currently serving as advisor to medium-sized businesses. And he advising promoters, owners of medium-sized businesses in all important aspects of their business as an offline CEO. Moreover, helps SME clients in formulating their detailed business plan and conducting structured performance reviews on a regular basis for attaining business targets. In addition to that, he advising SMEs in their selection of systems, service providers, and key personnel in various functional areas like projects, equipment and systems, branding, advertising, funding, HRIR consultancy, etc. Moreover, he remains connected with the internal as well as external aspects of the client's businesses, always and thereby in a state of readiness to offer a considered opinion anytime it is sought. So today he will talk on the topic Insights for SME business owners and CEOs. I hope he could give some spark to all of us. So once again, I would welcome Mr. Roy Kurien to the Intersociety weekly webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Adla. Now, without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Roy Kurien, the distinguished speaker for the day, to begin the session. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. So good evening to all of you, and may I express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Harindralal and your entire team for having invited me and having given me an opportunity to come and talk for a short while to this august audience. So I'm extremely thankful for that. Once again, thank you very much for that. And in this session, when I was asked to give a talk to a forum like this, I had asked, what should be the topic, what should we be talking about? So then I was told that we can choose the topic. So what I decided to do is, I had been, as I had been introduced, I had been with different kinds of industries. Basically, I'm a chemical engineer, MBA, that is my academic background. I had been mostly with, for large spells of time with large chemical process, continuous process industries like fertilizer, petrochemical, metallurgical, and all that. So, and presently, as I was introduced, I am serving as a business advisor from my consulting firm, CNS Consulting, giving advisory services to owners of medium-sized businesses. So in this context, what I thought is, rather than talking about some specific industry or its issues, something which would be more useful and appealing to a diverse crowd, I thought that would be something more generic, something more on the soft skill side than on the specifics of any particular industry or technology, and which would be helpful to one and all, whether they are an entrepreneur or an industry participant or an owner or in any field. I thought that would be a better topic. That is why this topic was chosen. And what I'm trying to present is basically not at all anything from the academic side, but whatever insights I personally have learned over my long years spent in the industry, in organizations. Whatever I have learned by doing the right things, by doing the wrong things, and ultimately that is what is experienced. And basically on the soft skill side, a little bit focused on my present activity of serving SMEs. And I have made a small presentation, which I will show to you. After that presentation, I would like to, not to take too much time on that. After that, it could be more of a interactive session where questions could be asked, and to the best of my capabilities, we can discuss where all of us collectively learn. So that is just a brief introduction of what I'm going to do today. Now, let me come to my, my presentation slides. So as it has been told, The topic is insights for business owners and CEOs of any kind of organization, specifically on small and medium enterprises. These are my coordinates, my firm and my contacts. I have basically divided the whole thing into basically two sections. First one is insights and soft skills, which I mentioned already, and the second part would be certain specific things which I have seen from what I've seen of how medium-sized enterprises function. Certain insights on that area also. Let me go forward. Yeah. For any business, what I have realized is every business is being done for creating an economic surplus. We all know that. But if you look at organizations or businesses which have sustained over a very long period of time, as compared to something which came for a few years and then it went off. So companies which have sustained for a very, very long time, if you see, apart from their financial goals, they also had something which is higher than a higher purpose of business. That doesn't mean that you should be a charitable organization. That only means that you stand for something which is more nobler, something which is bigger, which is having a higher purpose than the immediate financial goal. So this gives a longevity and a purpose and sustainability to the business as a whole. So you strive to meet the genuine needs of the society. Keep thinking about fulfilling these needs on a long-term basis, and strategies for your business will automatically follow. Businesses becomes durable and sustainable if you are having a higher purpose of business. And just one example, that small diagram which I have shown, it's a company called Greystone Bakery, not Indian, it's a US company. And their stated objective is, we don't hire people to bake brownies, we bake brownies to hire people. So that's an organization which hires actually people who are not normally hireable, in the sense people who have some other bad track record, who had been convictees and people like that, whom normally nobody would hire. Such people, even if they become good, nobody hires them. So this is a company which hires such people and give them employment and bring them back in the mainstream. So they say that hiring such people is our main objective, and baking brownies is only a path to that. Just an example. So having a higher purpose is something which makes the business sustainable on a long-term basis. The top part of the slide is visible, right? Because on my screen, the top title is visible. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what do you stand for? Basically, there are several big companies also who do a lot of things, who make profit, all that is fine. But if you ask them, what do you really stand for? What are your core values? There are companies which have that, but some people actually do not have that. Here, the problem is, as you go forward, a lot of things in the macro business environment keep changing. And with each change, you also keep dilly-dallying here and there, and finally you lose track of where you're going. Whereas a company which has got solid core values as to what we do and what we don't do. In the immediate term, having such core values sometimes may lead to loss of some immediate opportunities. But in the long run, they will stand better because having such core values. In this context, I'm reminded of one statement made by Mr. Narayanamurthy, whom all of us know, the founder chairman of Infosys. He once said that honesty not only is a good thing, but it also makes good business sense. And which was amply demonstrated in the valuation of Infosys. Because at a time when Infosys was at the peak, the traditional manufacturing-based Indian old traditional family managed business companies, when they were having a valuation, as you all may be knowing, In the stock market, the valuation of a particular company, one critical parameter is P by E ratio, that is the market price to earnings per share. So in traditional companies, we're having a P by E ratio of around 15 or 14 or 13. Infosys was commanding a P by E ratio of 45. For the same earning per share, it was 45 times value. So that shows the quality of governance, the transparency, and the quality of the management, where nothing is hidden, everything is transparent, everything is open. So that gives that's a value. So that kind of value led to a higher valuation of the company, and that higher valuation in turn leads to enrichment of the assets of the promoters also, rather than taking a cut here and there. So that's about the core values. This is more, I would say, not only for business owners, but for anybody who is aspiring to become somebody in an organization. Solidity versus flair. I have always seen that, yes, there are different kinds of people. All of us have different traits, different characteristics, and there are people who are very good in talking, very good in presenting things, and very, very high flair, but there are people who may not be so much, but they have very good solidity with respect to their knowledge, with what they know, and things like that. So what I have seen is that flair is good, but it takes you up to a certain point. But beyond that, if you want to grow or sustain, testing points will come, and solidity is really important. You should really have solidity also. With flair alone, you can't go too far. Value addition is something which in any organization, any group, even in this meeting, whenever we collectively spend time sitting and spending time of, say, 10 people are attending a meeting, maybe they discuss for half an hour or 1 hour. So 10 people attending a meeting for 1 hour means actually 10 man hours. When 10 man hours are spent, and once you come out of the meeting definitely is not for chit-chatting. It is for discussing some issue and taking some decision, or at least some directional decision. So if that is not happening, people are discussing here and there, and then without any definite outcome, if they are going out, then that is not enough. So this is about a meeting on any matter. If a file comes to you, if something comes to you, and you are just using your authority level to pass it on, like mostly what happens in government. So that's not the case. Everyone has to have a conviction that something that comes to me, when it goes out of my table, I should have added some value to that. Or in a meeting, we have to come out of that there should be a takeaway. There has to be something definitely decided. So this has to be a quality, a definiteness of our day-to-day functioning. Issue-based approach. Many times we see in the general society, as well as even in organizations, we all tend to want to be objective, but many times, subjectivity comes in. Many times people see what is the issue, rather than looking at what is the issue at hand, we want to see who is behind that. Or some suggestion comes for improvement. Instead of looking at what is the issue and what has been suggested and how something can be solved, people look at who brought it up. Oh, it is him. Okay, let us support for either objective, opposite. So a more objective approach, looking at the issue rather than the individual. This is something which I have actually experienced. If you remove that subjectivity, if you are all able to look more at the issue rather than the individual, things become much more easier to resolve and take the organization forward. This is another thing, more for intra-organizational thing. See, the knowledge authority versus position authority. Especially in government organizations, in government, private sector, not that much. People cling to their positional authorities. I am so and so. I am managing director, or I am general manager. So once they say something, you have to agree or you have to follow. So those days are all gone. Now today, all information is available. The world has become flat, and it's a knowledge society. And in this scenario, I feel that knowledge authority is what is much more important. Position authorities are not important at all. Position actually is given to you basically for you to facilitate others to do their best. That's all. It's not that you are given some authority and you are sitting on that and wielding your authority. That's not the point. You are sitting there. Suppose you have your team under you. There are 100 people. To bring best out of those 100 people is your basic responsibility, using your authority, using your position. But basically, if you also need to command the respect, then you should have the knowledge. I'm not talking of general knowledge of everything in the world, but at least the job knowledge, which is specific to that particular company's business, has to be clearly there with people at higher levels in order for them to achieve results and lead the team in a better way, earning respect for themselves. This requires continuous learning, irrespective of where you are. Some people think that we so much have done enough, and now it is for me to only command, not learn. But learning is a continuous process till the end of your life. That is how we earn the knowledge authority. Once the knowledge authority is really there, I have experienced that leading a team is very, very easy, because your credibility, your knowledge, and that respect, once it is earned, then whatever you say, not that whatever you say people may question, but still they will know that once this guy says something, he would have definitely done the homework. So that is why I feel knowledge authority is very important. This is about wherever we are, how many number of years we have experience in one industry. All that doesn't mean that we know everything. There may be specific aspects of the business of the company where we need to take a decision, where we don't have all the knowledge, all the inputs. So in this scenario, the collaborative networking with your own colleagues at the same level, at lower levels, at higher levels, maybe your equivalent people in other organizations, keep the network through professional organizations or even personal, whatever, and try to, the objective is when we have to take a decision on a critical matter, it has to be as much as possible, as far as possible, it has to be the correct decision. To ensure that it is a correct decision, you need to tap all the resources that is available, for which we need to do this collaborative networking without any hesitation, without any. So then only you will reach the correct decision. But here again, I would qualify one thing. If somebody is, if every decision needs to be 100% perfect, 100% perfect, then it is also practically difficult, because in commercial organizations, you need to keep deciding many things on a day-to-day basis. So that is why people are required to decide. Otherwise, machines could have decided. So in such a scenario, having 100% of the information required for taking a decision may not be practical. Sometimes you may have to take a call with maybe 70%, 80%, or 85% of the information available, and rest you have to do your own judgment. So that is also there. But still, you have to try to put your best in the shortest possible time to get the best available information and take an informed decision. Yeah, when we decide, we have to, okay, for a CEO, you may have to decide so many things on the business, on the process, on the people, and so many things. So one basic thing which a top guy can keep in mind is, when decide, even if you don't have all the details, at least check two things: whether this is doing this way, is it really good for the organization in the long term, not for getting an immediate benefit. Is it really good in the long term? And is it in the larger interest of the organization, not for a small set of people or for a small group? Is it in the larger interest, or does it serve the long-term interest? Once that check is done and you have a satisfactory answer, most probably the decision you take would be right. But it may not be popular sometimes, but still it would be right in the long term. For anybody at any level in an organization, I would say we have to enjoy the work. You can hear a lot of people, I'm working in so and so company or in the new generation IT companies. So it's a lot of work. You have to work for so many hours. It is very tedious and things like that. Of course, there may be a reality to some of it, but what I have seen is we have to enjoy the work we are doing, whether it is your own business, whether you're working for somebody or whatever. we have to enjoy. Once we enjoy work, then actually what happens is work ceases to be work. Why do we enjoy playing a game? Because that is something we don't see it as work. You are playing, you are enjoying each aspect of the game, and then you're enjoying. Suppose work also happened to be like that. Suppose we could see the work nothing but not as work, but as something we enjoy, something like a game. Then work will cease to be work. That doesn't mean that you should ignore your family and sit 24 hours in the office. I'm not saying that. It is, and today's world it has become a continuum. Work is a continuum. Actually, the personal time, official time, all that, the distinction between all these are gradually going away, because you have devices, you have your mobiles or tabs or wherever you are connected. So if even if you're in a personal time, some emergency comes and you get a message, you have respond to it. Similarly, or the converse also, if you are on your official time, even during that time, some personal emergency comes, you can attend to that also. So that all is not an issue, but the enjoyment part. So here, some people may ask, see, I am in so-and-so company or so-and-so organization, and I'm not able to enjoy the environment is not conducive, or the boss is very suppressive, and how do I enjoy? That's a reality. That may be a reality in some cases, but then what you should do is, either if you have the capacity and the capability, you should try to change the environment in which you work. That may be possible in some cases, depending on your level and your position. It may not be possible also. And if it is not possible for you to change, you have to make all possible attempts. You have to represent to formal channels, to your hierarchy, to your higher ups, and say that these are the difficulties I face, and if this is resolved, I can come to a better enjoyment situation. I can contribute better. In spite of all that, if that is not happening, then you should realize that you are actually not in the right environment. Then you have to change the environment and change rather than sitting and cribbing there, move to an environment where you would actually enjoy. And that, I feel, is the right professionalism, rather than keeping on complaining and sticking to a place. Walk the talk. This is very important for everyone, but especially for people at the higher leadership levels. Take a case of a CEO, for example. He may be he is trying to take the company forward. He is working for the company. He is giving various statements, various promises to his team, to the people down below. This is where I am taking the company, to the workmen, to the employees. So a lot of things he may have to give commitment statements and all that. And what I have seen is, especially in manufacturing organizations, a lot of unionized labor and all that. What you should walk the talk, in the sense, you should state or commit only what you can do. And once you say that I'll do this, you have to do it. So this earns credibility. Whereas to get something done for a very short-term benefit, if you just do some bluffing around, okay, don't worry, you do all these things, I'll take care. And he doesn't take care. Second time he asks something, it will not happen. So this helps in building the credibility, the trust, and also building lasting relationships. This is about organizational alignment. See, the company has to set, or the leader has to set the short, medium, and long-term goals of the organization. Once that's a business requirement. Once that is set, depending on the sector in the segment in which the company is operating. Once that is done, then do we think that once that is set and the machinery, equipment, everything is put in place, then automatic things will happen? No, it will not automatically happen. It will happen only if all the stakeholders, mainly the employees in the organizations, are all aligned to these goals. How do you align? You have to clearly communicate. And that is a single point responsibility of the CEO or the owner MD or whoever. Because if you think that a circular can be placed, or you can brief your immediate subordinates, they will brief their subordinates, like that, it gets cascaded down. It doesn't happen that way, because there will be a lot of clutter in the communication. Such critical communications has to be handled as far as possible directly by the CEO, even addressing people physically in big calls, or even communication through emails or whatever. And all these things have been clearly communicated. And any feedback from the organizational participants has to be taken seriously. And if any amendment in the goals is to be done based on any sensible feedback, that also needs to be done. Once this is done, and the purpose is clearly shown with respect to time, cost, all those things, and you align the entire team, then things happen, and you can really take the business to the set goals through this kind of typically by the CEO. So here I would just say something. See, what I believe is, with an organization having people who are not very highly intelligent, who are not very poor also, average or just above average kind of people, members in an organization, if they are all well aligned and working towards a common goal, working together, working towards a common goal, they can, with what I said is just above average kind of people working together in very well aligned can deliver extraordinary results. Whereas if you have another organization where you have very, very high intelligent people of Albert Einstein's kind of intelligence, but they are not aligned and they are all working at cross purposes, they will destroy the organization in no time because of the lack of alignment. So this is the importance of alignment. Learnability, we all know, learnability is neither learning nor knowledge. It is the openness of the mind and the willingness to learn from anyone, anything, irrespective of rank and stature. So that is the state, that's actually a trait. If somebody has got, say, 25 years experience in one particular industry, and tomorrow a fresh guy coming and seeing the whole thing for a day or two, and if he's coming and saying that, sir, instead of this, you should do like that, instead of brushing him off, you should have the patience to listen to him carefully, and if there is anything sensible in what he says, we should be prepared to at least adopt that. So this is learnability, and this learnability is an essential attribute for growth, both for the individual and for the organization. This is the basic mindset. We have to, for a CEO, we need to inculcate this that CEO bent of mind or that kind of a thought to all people in the organization, rather than just seeing them, okay, you are a draftsman, you do only drafting, don't think about anything else. Or you are a maintenance engineer, you do only maintenance, you don't think about big things. That is not the way. Let him do that. But everyone should know what the organization stands for, where we are going, the long-term plan and things like that. So that is work and deliver in one's given role, but think for the larger, longer-term interests of the CEO. Here, two things will happen. Everyone will know the long-term, the larger picture and the longer-term interests of the company, and everyone will try to contribute keeping that in mind in his limited area of work. This helps the organization in achieving its goals, but also helps those individuals also in his professional journey, eventually making him a CEO. Because once you have that mindset only, such people, you observe the people who have really come to those kind of positions, they would have, at a still lower level also, they would have been having that kind of a thinking. And that is the thing which really took them to. I'm particularly talking about mainly private sector organizations. The government is a different issue. There are a lot of other considerations also come in. So basically, that's the thing. So those were my, the generic or I would say the soft skill part of whatever I have observed or understood from my years of working in organizations. Now coming specifically to small and medium enterprises, some of them with whom I am associated now in an advisory role or maybe an offline CEO, advising them on specific matters. But to observe, just putting some points, and I hope in this group also there would be several who are running their own enterprises. So they would also very well know what I'm talking. In fact, I missed out to mention earlier, I am not bringing anything new or any new knowledge or anything to this group. All of you are very experienced people, and you all know. I'm not bringing anything. I'm not trying to say anything which is new or any. It's all sharing of experience. As I said, rather than talking anything about a specific industry, I thought these kind of things. But it is all distilled wisdom, if I can call it that way, based on actual hands-on life in an organization. So I thought I'm just mentioning that. It is just, for many of you, it would be only a recollection. Okay, this may be okay, this may be right, or I too have faced the same thing. SME pain points. What I have seen is, in large corporates, annual business plan is a very standard thing, nothing new. In large organizations, private or public, every financial year, as we all know in India, financial year starts with April to next March. So from the previous December, or at least by January, the companies start preparing the draft business plan for the next year. Business plan, when I say, it is not a very lengthy text document. It is basically a projected profit and loss account for the next year. Account, not the accounting part, but basically month by month, in the business in which you are in, what is the sales turnover you're expecting on a month-to-month basis, and what are the various other revenue. The revenue streams may be coming from 1, 2, 3, or 4 different streams. From each revenue stream, each revenue item, what is the revenue stream that is coming? That is a revenue side, income side. Then come to expenditure. What all are the various expenditures? This is what is captured in a normal P&L account. And the net of it, what is the net profit you are going to make? So this on for the month of April, month of May, up to the next thing, monthly it is done, and the total is done. And this is a projected annual business plan for the next year. So this is normally done, and it doesn't get completed in just one exercise. Initially, one draft is made. Every department people will try to make it in a very conservative manner, because these are all linked to annual targets and their performance appraisal and their annual increments and things like that. So people will try to, normal tendency is that people will try to put it in a conservative. Sales guy will say slightly on the lesser side. Purchase guy will say that, okay, this quantity can be more, the price will be more, and that way. And it is the CEO's role to bring all these things together, make people sit in meetings and then deliberate on each and every item of this, and try to make as much improvements as possible. And then the bottom line improves. Finally, once the whole exercise is over, the board approval is taken, and that is adopted as the business plan for the next year. Once that is done, then that is the guideline for the next year. This covers all areas, HR, everything, manpower, all kinds of things are covered. And that becomes the guideline. So this is a standard feature in large organizations. Unfortunately, what I have come to see in medium-sized business, guys, I'm not saying very small, even companies in Kerala, I have come across 50 crore, 100 crore turnover companies also. Many people do not even have anything called an annual business plan. I'm not saying once you have an annual business plan, everything will come okay. But this is something which is a basic requirement which everybody should have. So this kind of an exercise, many people don't do. They keep on doing. They know their business very well. So they know that, okay, on a day-to-day basis, they keep managing. At the end of the year, the chartered accountant makes a financial statement and tells them. That is the time they realize that they are in profit or loss. So this kind of a very structured, systematic annual business plan preparation, many people don't do. It is really required. So this is what I have seen. And whichever company I advise or I serve, I tell them, this you necessarily prepare. So I help them to make this by giving them the templates and things like that. Putting some figure is not enough. You put some figures, then we need to sit through multiple reviews and try to optimize and improve it and finally adopt it. So this is one thing. The absence of that is one issue, and this needs to be, even for a very small business also, you should have this. This is my opinion. Once you have that, the second thing is that every month, once one calendar month is over and the next calendar month starts, at least by 5th or latest by 10th of the next month, before that, you must have a review of what happened in the previous year. What is review? Review is, what was your plan? All the numbers, all the cost and revenue numbers of the plan on one side, one column, and all the actuals which was achieved in that month on the other column, and you start comparing where you are better than the plan, where you are worse than the plan. If you're worse than the plan, what was the reason for the deviation? And okay, once the reasons are identified, next month, in order for this deviation, negative deviation, not to repeat, what you can do, what is the corrective action, and what that corrective action can be taken in what duration of time, and who is responsible for that. This much things are decided in that meeting, review meeting, and then again, those are given to the respective people, and then this keeps on continuing. The next month again you do. So that is the structured monthly business plan review process. Cash flow versus profitability. Here, I've seen many companies. See, we all understand what is a cash flow and what is a profit. So profit, you may get some orders in a month, and you may get a lot of advances. This advance also is cash flow, but that is not necessarily profit. When you have cash flows, many people think that I have money. But when you really account it, you find that you have to account for your overheads and other expenditures and taxes and all that. Finally, even though you had appeared to have a healthy cash flow, finally you end up in a loss. So all these are important. That realization also is very important. Especially in this COVID times and all that, you have to where businesses have all been affected across the board. Keeping the overheads under control. Overhead costs, basically what I'm talking about. Variable costs is all costs that vary directly in proportion to your output, whether it is a service or a product or whatever. Fixed costs or overheads are things which are fixed. Whether you have a production or a sale or not, even if it is zero, you have to incur certain costs. For example, your rent or your fixed salaries or permanent employees and things like that are all fixed overheads. So in difficult scenarios where your own, getting orders and things like that are very much in question, try to optimize the overheads to the extent possible so that you can at least sustain. This overheads, one more thing I'll tell you, when companies are doing very well for a certain period, for a month or for a year or two or whatever, when suddenly business has improved and a lot of money has come in, everybody has this tendency of increasing unnecessary overheads. I think that we'll have some people, we'll have some executive secretary, we'll have this, that, and we'll buy some vehicles, unnecessary office space, all those people will do. And when the next term comes and business goes down, they'll find that all these overheads are a problem. So it's all this actually investment should be directed towards the business generating kind of assets and only to the extent required only you should do these overhead expenditures. And again, in this difficult times, some of the fixed costs which you have, as I said earlier, you may be able to convert to variable. That is, very difficult situation, and you even for permanent kind of people, wages or rent and things like that, you can try to structure things in such a manner that this is all linked to the business that you get. Try to convert, as much as possible, fixed costs into variable costs. 100% is not possible. You can outsource certain non-core activities that way. For example, if you are running a canteen of your own with staff and people and all that, people coming to office itself will become very less. So you can maybe tie up with some external catering agency, and for whatever food delivered you pay. Similarly, vehicles, rather than maintaining a fleet of vehicles of your own, tie up with a car hire agency, and as and when required you hire. So these kind of things I'm talking. Many a time this collection, when you sell, and you have to sell and you have to collect the money for whatever you have sold. So this collection mechanism in many cases is very weak. So what happens is you have your working capital, you produce, you sell. In the market, depending on the industry you are in, the gestation period, the cycle time may be, in some cases you may get the payment in 15 days. In some cases you may get in 6 months. So unless you have an efficient collection system, you might have produced, you might have sold. And the moment you sold for a good price, that price is captured in your accounting system. And whatever profit is there on the books. But unless you physically collect it, you don't have the cash flow. So that collection mechanism is also very important. Working capital. I have actually seen some manufacturing units of medium size. The promoters, maybe 2 or 3 joined together, they put in a lot of capital, buy the land, build the machinery, and get the production started. And they have taken a lot of pain in putting all these things up, but they would not have done a proper working on what is the real working capital required. What is working capital is nothing but the money you for your for your making your material, the raw material, utilities, and then you produce and then you put in the market. There's a collection time of 2 months, 3 months, and generally the money comes. So during that time, you have to continuously keep producing. Generally, the money starts coming back. So if they have not planned for that adequate working capital, after 3, 4 months, 5 months, they find that everything is fine and there is profit in the books, but I don't have money to buy raw material. Where is the money? Money is in the market. So if the 4 months collection or 3 months collection time is a realistic one, then you have to plan your working capital requirement accordingly. At that time, don't run for working capital. Market study. Any new business or a new line of business for an existing company or a totally new company. When you venture into something like this, many people go based on their gut feel. Okay, this is there is a lot of need for that. I'll go and do it. And what a better way to do this is engage a professional market research agency and get a proper market research done, and then based on their projections, only plan your business. This is very important. And here again, I would like to qualify a market research agency bringing a report doesn't necessarily mean that 100% of what they say may be fully correct, because they also have only limited resources to do the research. So you have to take a view on certain things, but still having something is definitely better than having nothing. So is required. But here, one thing to be cautious about is when you engage a market research agency, you should be knowing as to what should be their scope of work. Whether you want to know the demand, supply, the demand-supply gap, the existing players, they are supplying how much, and is there any import happening? So these kind of questions which are really relevant for you to take a decision on the business, those questions all should be there in the scope of work. Otherwise, just telling somebody to make a market research, he will make something and give you, which may not be really useful for you. So that needs to be done properly. Fund diversion. In some cases, what I have seen is somebody starts a business with good intent, might have brought in some capital, his own money, and some money is borrowed from the banks or KSIDC or wherever, and then the business starts. The business is doing well, and some money comes. A lot of cash comes into the company, and then one fine day somebody comes with an idea. Sir, so and so thing is for sale. So and so asset, mostly real estate. Some business or some building or something is they are in distress, so we can buy it very cheap. So people are tempted to do that. What they are wanting is they don't want to take that and run another business. They think that it is coming cheap, and at the right time I will sell for a much bigger profit exit and bring that money back into my business. But what really happens is, especially in the current times, this doesn't happen. Their money gets stuck there. When they want to sell, that selling doesn't happen. So what happens is that money gets stuck, and his main business also starves for funds, working capital, and he gets into problem. So this is something which needs to be avoided very, very clearly. Or if he wants to do that, he can do it, no problem. But the funds has to come from some other source rather than diverting from the running business. Organization structure for even for a very small company also, I would say a well-designed organization structure should be there. Everyone doing everything, because normally for a company which is promoted by a single individual, he has put all his thing into that, and something is happening. So he will be there in everything, right from peon to his general manager. Everybody he will be instructing, he will be giving instructions and all that. So that kind of a thing, up to a certain point of time, up to a certain level of growth, it will work, because everything is visible, everything is touchable, everything is seeable. But once it grows beyond a point, unless you have a proper structure, it will not be helpful. And if you want to really make people below you accountable, then the instruction flow, command flow, everything has to be through the proper organization structure. Otherwise, something goes wrong and somebody is asking why this happened, then people in between will say, see, I don't know, sir. It is the MD himself has given an instruction to do like that to my subordinate. So what can I do? So that is why the organization structure and giving respect for the hierarchy is important. not only for a discipline, but also for getting the organizational results on a sustained basis. Compliances. We are living in any country, in this, not any India or any country where you're living, there will be a lot of statutes, there will be a lot of laws, a lot of enactments which you have to comply. It is not, it covers several areas of your function, finance, your factories act, and your pollution. A lot of areas are there, and these compliances are very important, because when the going is good, you might ignore some compliances, but when suddenly something hits you, then the implications may be very, very large. The entire business may come to a standstill because of something. You might have just missed it. So you should make somebody really responsible for the compliance, give a lot of importance to compliance, and see that everything is met. Otherwise, you'll be in for shocks. Scanning the environment. Environment means I'm talking about the macro business environment, the society in which we live. A lot of things keep changing. Then you have to continuously keep in touch with what is happening on the legal side, on the business side, on the innovation side, on the new technology side. So there'll be opportunities, there'll be threats, there'll be potential, and disruptions can happen. So we need to keep in touch with what is happening. Everything we cannot control. We cannot control at all what is happening outside, but we can only adapt our business to be in tune with these changes, so that we are not destroyed. Or at least we make good of that, we make opportunity, convert that into opportunity. So that continuous scan is also important. So that's all about my general presentation. I will just end the show, minimize it, and I am now open for any discussion, any questions. So in fact, I want to take only very little time for this presentation part. We can maybe spend more time in discussing. If anyone has got anything, kindly come forward, please.
Thank you so much, sir. There are some questions in the Q&A session chat box. Can I read them?
Yes, please.
Okay, sir. The first one is from Francis Joseph. I'm a trainer in innovation process. What is its role in business?
Can you repeat the question once again, Aishwarya?
Yes, sir. I am a trainer in innovation process. What is its role in business?
He's a trainer in innovation process.
Yes, sir.
What is its role in business?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, innovation, as we all know, innovation is of very prime importance in any business. Innovation does not necessarily mean that when you say innovation, people are mostly thinking of technology or specific technological products and innovative things. I would say innovation is more general. Even in your administrative practices, how a file moves or how a electronic file moves before a decision is taken. Even such matters also, you can find better optimum ways of reducing the time and improving the quality of the decision. Any such things which is a deviation from the status quo, which is aimed at achieving some improvement, either reduction of time or reduction of cost or improving a quality, all those things are innovation, and all these things are of extreme importance to any business. Have I answered the question?
Yes, very good. Thank you.
Okay, sir, we'll move on to the next one. 10% startup success rates are reported in some literature. Is it right or wrong?
Once again.
10% startup success rates are reported in some literature. Is it right or wrong?
Oh, the success rate of startups. Success rate of startups, I too have come across such literature which talks about out of the startups only 10% succeed, or maybe 15% succeed. I think, see, apart from having read such statistics, I do not have any other mechanism to authenticate or verify. Because I work with some startups also, guiding them, advising them and all that. I think it is true. My feeling is it is true because if you look at not only the new generation startups, any business historically, if you see, we see only the names of companies which are surviving or which are still there in, still alive, right? Whichever company has started and functioned for some time and closed down, who remembers them? That's all gone. So I think that's a correct number. And that will remain so also. And that is the, I think that is the way it is. Because today, if you look at, say, people who are into angel funding or venture funding and all that, people who put such money, their own money, or maybe angel funding people, for example, they have money. Suppose somebody has got, say 100 crores with him. While I was talking to some people, what they do is they invest only in startups, and that too technology-based startups which are having a high scale-up potential. They identify all that, they do their research, and then only select the startups for funding. And when they fund it, suppose they identify 10, put 10 crores each into each of these people, and they know that very well that 8, maybe 10 or even 20%, let's say 20, 8 out of these 10 will fail. That they are anticipating already. So their 80 crores is gone. But from those two things which succeed, one could be a Zomato, where this 10 crores he puts in will become 1,000 crores tomorrow, 1,000 or 100 or 500, whatever. So that kind of success will be there in 1 or 2, and that is enough for him to get his huge return. So that is why it is called risk capital. That's the way it is. I think that's the hard reality.
Okay, so I hope the question is answered. The next one is honesty and business. How many business institutions maintain honesty in their operations in India, particularly in Kerala?
I honestly, I do not have any number for that, but I can tell you from my years of experience, there are organizations. It's not that there is nobody who is honest. There are organizations which are honest. May not be 100%, but by and large, in most of their dealings, they have a basic value system, and they don't deviate much. Suppose somebody says, you do this shortcut, you bribe him something, you get some benefit. No. We stand there, we go this way. It doesn't matter. There are companies who do like that. My personal feeling is that if you have things like that, in the long run, you will sustain better, rather than, if you do some other kind of thing, what happens is it will all bite you back at another point of time. So I don't have a number of companies, but I don't want to name any company also, but I have seen companies who are actually very good as far as this aspect is concerned. The company which I mentioned, Infosys, is one such company at a national level. And they have been awarded so many awards for their quality of governance, for their compliance, for their transparency. So many international awards they have won.
Okay, sir, moving on to the next question. While you work, and while you play. What you presented in the talk, all are theoretical concepts to be planned and implemented for a successful end. Any failure you experienced in implementation of these concepts and how you solved, can you share?
What I presented, first of all, it is not a theoretical concept. Whatever I told is not from any textbook or anywhere, any reading actually. It is all based on my life experience. So it is not theoretical, let me say that. Maybe theory also would have said the same thing, but whatever I told is not based on any theoretical reading. It is all based on practical experience only. Now coming to this thing, wherever failures have happened. Yes, yes, there have been in my career also, there are a lot of things which I have succeeded, there are some things which I have failed. All those things are there. I would, a failure example, I can tell you one thing, that is, while heading one company, I don't want to name any company, while heading one company where I served actually for a very long time. Joined that company at a middle level, and then gradually over a period of time became the CEO of that company. As CEO, I served for a significant length of time, and then I left that company for a better prospect later. So here I was always trying to practice most of these things what I explained today. Of course, it was not that right from the first day I knew all this. Over a period of time, I learned and then adapted. Maybe I did a lot of things which were not like this also. Over a period of time, I learned and and when as far as managing the team is concerned, I was not pushing things hard. Hello, can you hear?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah, means some people, some CEOs are very high taskmasters. They will just steamroll people, and I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear anything. I have a problem. Don't come to me with for a solution. You solve. You just that kind of approach and steamrolling. So I was personally not like that. I was trying to stand along with them and trying to resolve issues. And when people come to sing, rather than pushing them back, okay, sit down. Let us try to resolve. Sometimes give solutions. People used to advise me also. You should never give solutions. You should only make them solve, then only but anyway, each one has got its own nature. Maybe that was a mistake, I don't know. But for this kind of approach I was following, and in a very understanding manner and trying to resolve, and a lot of positive results also came. Then after I left that organization as a CEO, things were all fine. Then I left, and then we were doing in the manufacturing process several modifications, improvements, and things were all happening. Gradually improvements were coming, but after that, somebody who came in my position was a totally different kind of approach he had. He didn't want to get into any details. He was not from that industry also. So he said that we will, anybody comes in with any problem, no, I don't want to listen to anything, you go and solve. And heavy pressure on everybody. So later I found that with that kind of an approach, at least in the short term, results improved. Whatever the production level also slightly improved. Of course, some modifications and what we did earlier gave effect at that point of time. That was there, but still overall some results here and there started showing some improvement from what it was earlier. So at that time, I started really introspecting and thinking, was my approach wrong? The guys who were supposed to be very sincerely working, are they doing better work or contributing more so that your company is improving a little better? So I was for some time, so all these years, whatever I was believing as the correct thing, was it really wrong? Did I go wrong? So this approach itself, was it wrong? So these kind of questions came to me for some time. But later, what happened is that kind of an improvement was short-lived for a few months. But that kind of pressure, and without giving any kind of without an understanding approach and collective problem solving and collective growth, that pressure based improvement in results did not sustain for long. After a few months, it started going down, and the morale went off, and the people started leaving. All those things happened. So I still, even though that was a failure, it can be looked at as a failure, but suppose for a very short term, we are looking at a quarterly result or a month-on-month improvement or a quarter-to-quarter improvement, then probably that could have been a failure. But if you look at a longer term, take a longer term approach of the business and look at not what is happening during the 1 year I was sitting there, I got some results. If you forget that and look at irrespective of you, in the longer term, it has to do well, whether you are there or not. I feel that was not a mistake. So this is the only thing I can recall. At least for a short term, some reversal happened. Otherwise, I feel all these things are really the right direction only. That is my feeling.
Okay, sir, that was well explained. Now moving on to the next question. Coming to Kerala's business environment, what are the basic reasons for all to be able to attract investors here for setting up industries? Is it other states, industries are thriving, giving employments to thousands of people? How to bring changes to improve this situation? The visions of key decision makers for drafting policies need changes as we are passing through Industry 4.0. I desire to get suitable solution for this state of affair in our state.
Yeah, this is a very good and pertinent question, especially at this point of time, where very recently certain incidents happened. We all know that. Where some things happened with respect to, there's no issue in name the company because it was very much there everywhere in all social media and newspapers with Kitex. So whatever happened there, and then they also after a certain point of time reacted, and after that they said they were going out of the state, not for the existing operation will continue, but their new expansion will go to Telangana. All those things we heard. So that is a backdrop, I think, in which this question also has come. So I can just give you my personal view of this. Every person in the state, every thinking person, every knowledgeable person will have their own views. That also I respect. But whatever I feel, I can tell you. And this is again based on my several years of experience within the state. I have, as I was introduced initially, I have served outside the state also, in Goa, in Karnataka, in Mumbai, Maharashtra, and West Bengal, and Orissa also, in some large companies as the business head level. So I have dealt with trade unions and all that in all these places. Kerala was the place where I served for the longest duration in 3 companies. So based on this, and in the context of this latest Kitex incident and all, what I would like to say is, what is the question I think is, what is the basic issue for new industries to come into Kerala, and what are the root causes of the issues here, and probably what could be the way forward, I mean, in terms of a solution. Am I correct, Aishwarya? Or
Yes,
that?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, in this context, a lot of discussions are happening, and people are talking about changes that are required in the basic various the legal framework, in the administrative framework, in the approval procedures, and all that. All that is good. All that is good. All that is required. Also, very archaic laws in the clauses in the Factories Act and all. As Industries Minister himself was saying, a lot of things need to be changed. So all that is there. But that, according to me, that is all required. Definitely required. That's all good. Transparency in inspection procedure, all that is fine. But that alone would not solve the problem of the state. My feeling is that this is a subjective thing. I don't have any data or statistics to substantiate. My feeling is that basically in our society, in the Kerala society, there is an attitudinal problem. And why that attitudinal problem has happened, I'm not going to that also. There may be political ideology or other reasons. A lot of reasons may be there, or awareness level. So many issues may be there. But as things stand, there is an attitudinal problem. One is that any entrepreneur who is small or big, who is creating an enterprise, and definitely he creates an enterprise, he is borrowing a lot of heavily borrowing from institutions and investing, maybe some capital also. But over a period of time, if the enterprise is successful, he also benefits out of it. He makes profit, he makes benefit, but a lot of people get employed. So this is a situation. Our mindset or our attitude, one issue is that we see such people not as somebody who is wealth creators. They should be seen as wealth creators for the state as a whole, for the employees who work there, for everybody. Instead of that, our back of our mind, we as a community, we as a society, see them as in an inimical manner. That is, people who are പണ്ട് കാലത്തുള്ള നമ്മൾ മുദ്രാവാക്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഓർമ്മയുണ്ടല്ലോ. അപ്പൊ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ അത് ഇതെന്തോ ഒരു ശത്രുതാ മനോഭാവത്തോടുകൂടി ആളുകളെ കാണുകയും അവര് എന്തോ ഭയങ്കരമായിട്ട് ലാഭം ഉണ്ടാക്കി പോകുന്നതിലുള്ള ഒരു വിദ്വേഷവും അസൂയ എന്ന് തന്നെ വേണമെങ്കിൽ പറയാം. അപ്പൊ ആ രീതിയിലുള്ള ഒരു മനോഭാവം നമുക്ക് ബേസിക്കലി ഉണ്ട്. So we have that kind of a mindset. I'm not saying 100% of the people. This is the Kerala psyche. So അതിനകത്ത് അങ്ങനെ ഒരു പ്രശ്നം that is there on the one side. ഇത് ഒരു നല്ല കൂട്ടം ആൾക്കാർക്കും ഈ ഒരു പ്രശ്നം ഉണ്ട്. രണ്ടാമത്തെ ഒരു പ്രശ്നം ഞാൻ പ്രാക്ടിക്കലി കണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യം, അതായത് നമ്മുടെ ഓരോരുത്തരുടെയും ഒരു ബേസിക് വാല്യൂസ് ആണല്ലോ. ഇപ്പോൾ ഇഫ് I have a value, for example, whatever I spend or whatever I earn should be rightfully earned. ഞാൻ ജോലി ചെയ്ത് ശമ്പളം ചെയ്തിട്ടോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കൃത്യമായിട്ട് എന്തെങ്കിലും ബിസിനസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടോ എന്തെങ്കിലും കാര്യം നമ്മൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഔട്ട്പുട്ട് കൊടുത്തിട്ട് അതിന് കറസ്പോണ്ടിങ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഇൻപുട്ട് കിട്ടുന്നതായിരിക്കണം എൻ്റെ ഏർണിംഗ് എന്ന് വിശ്വസിക്കുന്ന കുറച്ച് ആൾക്കാരുണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ ധാരാളം ആൾക്കാർ അങ്ങനെ അല്ലാതെ അവരുടെ ഒരു കോൺട്രിബ്യൂഷനെ ബേസ് ചെയ്തല്ലാതെ റൈറ്റ്ഫുള്ളി അല്ലാത്ത ഏർണിംഗ് വേണം. അത് ആരെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ എന്തെങ്കിലും ചെയ്യുന്നു, അതിന്റെ ഒരു ഷെയർ എനിക്കും കിട്ടും. ഞാൻ ഈ നാട്ടുകാരനാണ്, ഇവിടെ ഒരു പ്രസ്ഥാനം നടക്കുന്നു, അപ്പൊ അതിന് ഇവിടെ സംഗതി നടക്കുമ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് കിട്ടാതിരിക്കാൻ എങ്ങനെ പറ്റുക? ഇയാൾ എന്ത് ചെയ്തിട്ടാന്നുള്ളത് അയാൾ ആലോചിക്കുന്നില്ല. ചെയ്താലും ചെയ്തില്ലെങ്കിലും ഏതെങ്കിലും രീതിയിൽ എനിക്ക് അങ്ങനെ കിട്ടണം എന്ന് ചിന്തിക്കുന്നത് ഒരു ഇൻഡിവിജ്വൽ ലെവലിൽ മാത്രമല്ല, ഇൻഡിവിജ്വൽ ലെവലിലും സംഘടനാപരമായിട്ടും എല്ലാം ആ പ്രശ്നമുണ്ട്. അപ്പം ഒരു റൈറ്റ്ഫുൾ അല്ലാത്ത ഒരു ഏർണിംഗ് വേണം എന്നുള്ളൊരു ആഗ്രഹം, നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ ഈ തരത്തിലുള്ള ആൾക്കാരോടുള്ള ഒരു ഇനിമിക്കൽ ആറ്റിറ്റ്യൂഡും കൂടെ കമ്പൈൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു പ്രശ്നം ഇവിടെ ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ നോക്കുകയില്ല അത് എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നതെല്ലാം ഈ രണ്ടാമത് പറഞ്ഞ സംഗതിയുടെ പലതരത്തിലുള്ള റിഫ്ലക്ഷൻസ് ആണ്. അത് ഒരു വളരെ ലോവർ ലെവലിലെ ആൾക്കാർ ആ രീതി വാങ്ങിക്കുന്നു, വേറെ ലെവലിലെ ആൾക്കാർ വേറെ രീതി വാങ്ങിക്കുന്നു. ആ രീതിയിൽ ഈ വരുന്ന ആൾക്കാരെ എല്ലാം പല തരത്തിലും അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും വലിച്ചിട്ട് ഇതിനകത്തും ഈ രീതിയിലുള്ള സംഗതി വരുന്നു. അപ്പൊ ഇത് ഉള്ളതുകൊണ്ട് അപ്പൊ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളെ ഡിപ്പെൻഡ് ചെയ്തുള്ള ധാരാളം ആൾക്കാരുള്ളത് കൊണ്ട് എന്താ പറ്റുന്നത് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഈ ലീഡർഷിപ്പ് ഞാനൊരു പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ഒരു പാർട്ടിയെ പറ്റി പറയല്ല, ലീഡർഷിപ്പിനൊക്കെ പബ്ലിക്കായിട്ട് ഒരു സ്റ്റാൻഡ് ഈ കാര്യത്തിൽ എടുക്കാനും ഈ തരത്തിലുള്ള പ്രവണതകളെ തീർത്തും ആക്ഷേപിച്ച് സംസാരിക്കാനും ഉള്ള ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുമുണ്ട്. കാരണം അങ്ങനെ സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് നമ്മളെ തന്നെ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന വോട്ട് ബാങ്കിനെയാണ് നമ്മൾ വെറുപ്പിക്കുന്നത്. ഇത് വളരെ മോശപ്പെട്ട പ്രവണതയാണ്, ഇങ്ങനെ ചെയ്യാൻ പാടില്ല എന്ന് നമ്മൾ കുറച്ച് നിയമങ്ങൾ മോഡിഫൈ ചെയ്യുക മാത്രമല്ല, വളരെ പബ്ലിക്കായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട എല്ലാ രാഷ്ട്രീയ പാർട്ടികളുടെയും എല്ലാ നേതാക്കളും അടച്ചിതിനെയൊക്കെ ആക്ഷേപിക്കുകയും ഈ ഉള്ള പ്രവണതകൾ തന്നെ തെറ്റാണെന്ന് പറയുകയും ചെയ്യുകയും അങ്ങനെ ഇതിനെയൊക്കെ ഒരു സോഷ്യൽ ഈവിൾ ആക്കി എല്ലാവരും കാണുന്ന ഒരു അവസ്ഥയും വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ പല കാര്യങ്ങളും പതുക്കെ ഒറ്റ ദിവസം കൊണ്ടല്ല പതുക്കെ ഇല്ലാതെയാവും. ഇതിന് ഞാൻ ഉദാഹരണം പറയാം. പിന്നെ ഒരു ഉദാഹരണം എന്താ വെച്ചാൽ, നമ്മള് നിയമങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ട് നമ്മൾ നിർമ്മാർജ്ജനം ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ള പല കാര്യങ്ങളുമുണ്ട്. പിന്നെ കാലാകാലങ്ങളായിട്ട് ഏതോ കാലത്ത് വളരെ നല്ലതും ശരിയും എന്ന് വിചാരിച്ച് സമൂഹം ചിന്തിച്ചിരുന്ന ചില കാര്യങ്ങൾ പിൽക്കാലത്ത് അത് തെറ്റാണെന്ന് തോന്നുകയും അതിനുശേഷം നിയമങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടാകുകയും ചെയ്ത് അതൊക്കെ അബോളിഷ് ചെയ്യപ്പെട്ടിട്ടുള്ള അങ്ങനെ സമൂഹത്തിൽ നിന്ന് മാറിപ്പോയ ചില കാര്യങ്ങൾ. ഇപ്പൊ വേറെ ചില കാര്യങ്ങൾ വളരെ മോശപ്പെട്ട ഒരു സംഗതിയാണെന്ന് സൊസൈറ്റി തന്നെ എഴുതി തള്ളിയ ചില കാര്യങ്ങൾ നിയമനിർമ്മാണമൊന്നും ഇല്ലാതെ തന്നെ സമൂഹത്തിൽ നിന്ന് മാറിപ്പോയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഞാൻ ചെറിയൊരു ഉദാഹരണം പറയാം. ഇപ്പോ വളരെ കാലം മുന്നേ, മേ ബി ഒരു 30 കൊല്ലം മുന്നേ ഒക്കെ ആയിരുന്നെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ ട്രെയിനിലോ ബസ്സിലോ ഒക്കെ യാത്ര ചെയ്യുകയോ ഈവൻ സിനിമാ തിയേറ്ററിൽ പോയി ഇരുന്നൊരു സിനിമ കാണുകയോ ചെയ്തിരുന്നെങ്കിൽ ആളുകൾ അവിടെ എല്ലാം ഇരുന്ന് സ്മോക്ക് ചെയ്യുമായിരുന്നു. ട്രെയിനിനകത്ത് സ്മോക്ക് ചെയ്യുമായിരുന്നു, ബസ്സിനകത്ത് സ്മോക്ക് ചെയ്യുമായിരുന്നു. അതിന് ഒരു തെറ്റായിട്ടോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മോശപ്പെട്ട കാര്യമായിട്ട് ആരും ചിന്തിച്ചിരുന്നു പോലുമില്ല. തിയേറ്ററിനകത്ത് സിനിമ നടന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ അതിനകത്തിരുന്ന് ഇങ്ങനെ സിഗരറ്റ് വലിക്കുക. സിഗരറ്റ് വലിയ മോശമൊന്നുമില്ല ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് കേട്ടോ. ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് ആ ഒരു സംഗതി ഇന്നാരും ചെയ്യത്തില്ല. അത് നിയമം കൊണ്ട് മാത്രമല്ല, വലിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പോലീസ് പിടിക്കുന്നത് മാത്രമൊന്നുമല്ല. ഇപ്പൊ ആരെങ്കിലും അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു സ്ഥലത്ത് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഈ ചുറ്റിയിരിക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാർ തന്നെ ഇയാൾ എന്താണ് ഈ കാണിക്കുന്നത് എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിൽ മറ്റുള്ളവരൊന്നും നോക്കും. വാട്ട് നോൺസെൻസ് ഈസ് ഡൂയിങ് എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിൽ പീപ്പിൾ വിൽ ലുക്ക് അറ്റ് ഇറ്റ്. ആ ഒരു സോഷ്യൽ ഒരു ഐസൊലേഷൻ തന്നെ ഉണ്ടാവും അന്നേരം. ഇപ്പം വലിക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാർ എവിടെയെങ്കിലും മാറി എന്നൊക്കെ ചെയ്യത്തുള്ളൂ. അത് സംതിങ് കൺസിഡേർഡ് അങ്ങനെ പബ്ലിക് പ്ലേസിൽ ചെയ്യുന്നത് മറ്റുള്ളവരുടെ ഹെൽത്തിനെ എഫക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നുള്ള ആ ഒരു അവയർനെസ് ഒക്കെ വന്നിട്ട് സൊസൈറ്റി ഇറ്റ്സെൽഫ് ഹാസ് മെയ്ഡ് ഇറ്റ് സംതിങ് ആസ് എ ടാബു എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ഈ ഇത്രയും കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ വളരെ മോശപ്പെട്ട ഒരു സംഗതിയാണെന്ന് ഉള്ള ഒരു ഫീലിംഗും വരണം. ഒന്ന്, ഇതുപോലെ റൈറ്റ്ഫുൾ അല്ലാതെ ചെയ്യണം. ജോലി ഇത് ഉണ്ടായിക്കോട്ടെ, ജോലി സ്കിൽഡോ അൺസ്കിൽഡോ ഏതെങ്കിലും തരത്തിലുള്ള ജോലി ചെയ്തിട്ട് അതിന്റെ വേണമെങ്കിൽ ഡീസെന്റ് ആയിട്ട് വാങ്ങി. അതല്ലാതെ ഇവിടെ ഒരെണ്ണം വന്നു നമുക്കും അതിന്റെ ഷെയർ കിട്ടണം എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ആറ്റിറ്റ്യൂഡ് ഒരു തരം കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് പോകണം. അതിനെ എല്ലാവരും മോശപ്പെട്ട സംഗതിയായിട്ട് പറയണം. രണ്ടാമത്തെ കാര്യം, ഈ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ഈ വെൽത്ത് ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ആൾക്കാരെ നമ്മൾ സമൂഹത്തിലുള്ള വേറെ ഏത് തരത്തിലുള്ള ഏത് കാറ്റഗറിയിലുള്ള ആൾക്കാരെക്കാട്ടി കൂടുതൽ സമൂഹം റെസ്പെക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന ലെവലിലേക്ക് അവരെ ഉയർത്തണം. ഇപ്പൊ ഞാനും പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ വലിയ എന്റർപ്രൈസസ് റൺ ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളതും ഒരു എന്താ പറയാ ഒരു സർവീസ് കപ്പാസിറ്റിയിലേ ഉള്ളൂ. ബിക്കോസ് അതിന്റെ ഉടമസ്ഥരൊക്കെ ആരെങ്കിലും കേരളത്തിന്റെ പുറത്തുള്ള ഏതെങ്കിലും വലിയ കമ്പനി ഓണേഴ്സ് ആയിരിക്കും. പക്ഷെ മോർ ഓർ ലെസ് ലൈക്ക് ആൻ ഓണർ റോൾ ഇരുന്ന് നമ്മൾ പെർഫോം ചെയ്തു. പക്ഷെ ഐ വാസ് നെവർ എൻ ഓണർ. പക്ഷെ എന്നിരുന്നാലും ഞാൻ എന്റർപ്രണേഴ്സിന് വേണ്ടി പറയാണ്, അങ്ങനെയുള്ള ആൾക്കാരാണ് ശരിക്കും പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഈ സൊസൈറ്റി റൺ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഇവരെല്ലാം ഇത് ചെയ്യുന്നതുകൊണ്ടാണല്ലോ അതിന്റെ ആ ഒരു ട്രിക്കിൾ ഡൗൺ എഫക്റ്റ് കൊണ്ടാണ് ബാക്കി എല്ലാവർക്കും സർവൈവ് ചെയ്യാൻ തന്നെ സാധിക്കുന്നത്. അതല്ലാതെ സമൂഹത്തിൽ വേറെ എന്തെല്ലാം ചെയ്യുന്ന പല ആൾക്കാരുണ്ട്, പല മേഖലകളിൽ പലരും. പക്ഷെ അവരെക്കാട്ടിലും എല്ലാം കൂടുതൽ റെസ്പെക്ട് ഏൺ ചെയ്യുന്ന ആൾക്കാർ ഇവരാണെന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ ഈ ഒരു രണ്ട് കാര്യം, ആ ഒരു കേരള സൈക്കിൾ തന്നെ ഒരു മാറ്റം അത് ഒരു ദിവസം കൊണ്ട് വരില്ല. പബ്ലിക്കായിട്ട് പൊളിറ്റിക്കൽ ലീഡേഴ്സും റിലീജിയസ് ലീഡേഴ്സും പിന്നെ ഈ എന്താ പറയുക, സാമൂഹ്യ പരിഷ്കർത്താക്കളും ഒക്കെ തുറന്ന് സംസാരിച്ച് പത്രങ്ങളും മാസികളും ഒക്കെ എഴുതി ഈ ഒരു ആറ്റിറ്റ്യൂഡിൽ ഷിഫ്റ്റ് വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇതൊരു ഈ പറഞ്ഞ പ്രോബ്ലം എല്ലാം സോൾവ് ആവുന്നതാണ് എൻ്റെ ഒരു പേഴ്സണൽ ഫീൽ.
Okay, sir. Moving on to the next question. I had been in building material importing and distribution business. Since the pandemic, my business gradually reduced to zero. After pondering what business would be good for me, I found that restaurant would be appropriate because of many reasons. I have done business plan with help of a software called Business Plan Pro. Sir, as you said, one should have the passion on business we do. My question is, I'm not good in culinary, or I'm not even good in choosing good food for myself. I am good in general matters of trading business. Will business be successful? What are the things I should take care considering my scenario?
Okay, so he has been importing certain construction material and selling, but because of the pandemic, that could not go forward. Then he went into restaurant business. Our restaurant business എന്താ പറയുക, ഈ culinary aspects expertise കുറവാണ്, but overall general manage ചെയ്യാനുള്ള capacity ഉണ്ട്. So how to make it successful? This is a question, right?
Yes, sir. That's
I'm just repeating so that since it's a long one. See, restaurant business specific ആയിട്ട് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു ടിപ്പ് ഇന്നത് ചെയ്താൽ റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റ് ബിസിനസ് സക്സസ്ഫുൾ ആകും എന്ന് പറയാൻ മാത്രമുള്ള ഒരു എക്സ്പെർട്ടൈസ് റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റ് ബിസിനസ്സിൽ എനിക്കില്ല. ജനറൽ ആയിട്ട് ഉള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറയാം. ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ ഏതെങ്കിലും ഇതിനകത്ത് ഞാൻ ഇതുവരെ അഡ്വൈസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ള ഏതെങ്കിലും റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റ് ബിസിനസ് ഇതുവരെ ഐ ഹവ് നോട്ട് കം അക്രോസ്. പക്ഷേ ഒരു കാര്യമുണ്ട്, നമ്മൾ ഏത് ബിസിനസ്സിനും ഫണ്ടമെന്റൽസ് ആയിട്ട് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ ആ കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം എല്ലാ ബിസിനസ്സിനും ആപ്ലിക്കബിൾ ആണ്. ഐ ടോക്ക് സെവറൽ തിങ്സ് അബൌട്ട് ആനുവൽ ബിസിനസ് പ്ലാൻ, അബൌട്ട് റിവ്യൂ, അബൌട്ട് വർക്കിംഗ് ക്യാപിറ്റൽ. ഈ പറഞ്ഞ കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം ഇതിനെല്ലാം ബാധകമാണ്. പിന്നെ ഓരോ ബിസിനസ്സിനും സ്പെസിഫിക് ആയിട്ട് ഒരു സ്ട്രാറ്റജി ഉണ്ടോ? ഐ ഡിഡ്ന്റ് സേ എനിത്തിങ് അബൌട്ട് സ്ട്രാറ്റജി ബിക്കോസ് സ്ട്രാറ്റജി ഈസ് വെരി സ്പെസിഫിക് ടു ഈച്ച് ബിസിനസ്. ഐ ടോക്ക് അബൌട്ട് ദി ഓവറോൾ റണ്ണിങ് ഓഫ് ദ ബിസിനസ്. ഇപ്പൊ റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റ് ബിസിനസ്സിനകത്ത് ഒരു സ്ട്രാറ്റജി, ഇപ്പൊ അത് എന്ത് തരം റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റ് തന്നെ പലതരം ബിസിനസ്സസ്, പലതരം റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റ്സ് ഉണ്ട്. ഇറ്റ് മേ ബി ഡിഫറെന്റ് ക്വിസീൻസ്, ഇറ്റ് മേ ബി ചൈനീസ്, ഇറ്റ് മേ ബി കോണ്ടിനെന്റൽ, ഇറ്റ് മേ ബി ഇന്ത്യൻ. അതെന്താണെന്ന് എനിക്കറിയില്ല അദ്ദേഹം ചെയ്യുന്നത്. പക്ഷെ ആ ബിസിനസ്സിനകത്ത് അത് ഇരിക്കുന്ന ആ ലൊക്കാലിറ്റിയിൽ സക്സസ്ഫുൾ ആക്കാനുള്ള ഒരു സ്ട്രാറ്റജി എന്താണെന്നുള്ളത് നമ്മൾ തന്നെ ആലോചിച്ചെടുക്കണം. ഇപ്പോൾ ഒരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ, ഇപ്പോൾ ഈ കോവിഡിന്റെ ലോക്ക്ഡൗൺ ഒക്കെ കാരണം റെസ്ട്രിക്ഷൻസ്, ഇതിപ്പോ പെട്ടെന്നൊന്നും അങ്ങോട്ട് മാറിയിട്ട് എല്ലാം പഴയ പോലെ ആളുകൾ നിറഞ്ഞ റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റിനകത്ത് കയറിയിരുന്ന് ഒരു ടേബിളിൽ തന്നെ 4 പേരിരുന്ന് ഭക്ഷണം കഴിക്കുന്ന സ്ഥിതി ഒന്നും പെട്ടെന്ന് വരുമെന്ന് പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല. അപ്പോൾ ഇപ്പൊ പല റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റുകാരും ചെയ്യുന്ന എന്താണെന്ന് നോക്കിയാൽ മതി. ഇപ്പൊ ഞാനായിട്ട് സൊല്യൂഷൻ പറയുന്നതല്ല, പല റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റുകാരും ചെയ്യുന്ന എന്താണ്, ഈ സിറ്റുവേഷന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഇപ്പൊ പാർസൽ കൊടുക്കാം, പിന്നെ അത് കൂടാതെ പീപ്പിൾ ആർ ഡൂയിങ് ഹോം ഡെലിവറി. അപ്പോൾ പല ആൾക്കാരും ദേ ഹാവ് ഷിഫ്റ്റഡ് ടു ഹോം ഡെലിവറി റാദർ ദാൻ കേറ്ററിംഗ് വിതിൻ ദി റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റ് ഹാൾ. അപ്പോൾ അവരെല്ലാം പെട്ടെന്ന് ഓൺലൈനായിട്ട് ഹോം ഡെലിവറി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് നമുക്കെല്ലാം വാട്സാപ്പ് മെസ്സേജ് ഒക്കെ കിട്ടും. ഈ പല ആൾക്കാരും അവർക്ക് നേരിട്ട് ഡെലിവറി ചെയ്യാൻ അവർക്ക് പറ്റുമെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ, ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ ദേ ക്യാൻ ടൈ അപ്പ് വിത്ത് സ്വിഗ്ഗി ഓർ സൊമാറ്റോ സംബഡി ആൻഡ് ദേ ക്യാൻ ഡെലിവർ. ഒരു ചെറിയ എക്സ്ട്രാ കോസ്റ്റ് അവർക്ക് പോകും, ബട്ട് അതർവൈസ് ദീസ് തിങ്സ് ഗോ ഓൺ. ആൻഡ് മെയിൻ റോഡിൽ, മെയിൻ ലൊക്കേഷനിലൊക്കെ ഹൈ റെന്റ് കൊടുത്തിരിക്കുന്ന റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റ്സ് ഒക്കെ ആൾക്കാർ പലരും ക്ലോസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അവര് കുറച്ചുകൂടെ റിമോട്ട് ആയിട്ടുള്ള, കുറച്ചുള്ളിൽ എവിടെയെങ്കിലും അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ആക്സസും ഒരു പ്രോമിനൻസും ഇല്ലാത്ത സ്ഥലത്ത് സ്പേസ് എടുത്ത് അവിടെ കുക്കിങ്ങും കാര്യങ്ങളും ചെയ്യുക, ഈ ഹോം ഡെലിവറിയിലേക്ക് ഷിഫ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ സോ ദാറ്റ് അവരെ ആ അത്രയും കോസ്റ്റ് ഒക്കെ കുറയും, ഒരു നല്ല സ്പേസിന്റെ റെന്റ് കുറയും, ആൻഡ് ദേ ക്യാൻ കേറ്റർ ടു ദിസ് തിങ് ത്രൂ ഹോം ഡെലിവറി. ഇതൊക്കെയാണ് ആൾക്കാർ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത് ബേസിക്കലി. So situation will change, but റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റിനകത്ത് നോർമലായിട്ട് ആളുകളെ കിട്ടുന്ന ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷൻ വരാൻ സമയം എടുക്കുന്നതാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ഒരു ഹോം ഡെലിവറി മോഡലും പിന്നെ ഒരു ക്ലൗഡ് കിച്ചൺ എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്ന ആ രീതിയിലുള്ള ഒരു വർക്കും ആയിരിക്കും എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയത്. അതെൻ്റെ മനസ്സിൽ പെട്ടെന്ന് തോന്നിയ കാര്യം പറഞ്ഞുള്ളൂ. ബട്ട് ഹി നീഡ്സ് ടു look at his own things more closely and find out more specific strategies.
Okay, sir. Moving on to the next question. I learned from my long years of service in industries, the need for reskilling or upskilling of officials are needed periodically to improve their efficiency and approaches to work. What's your view on this aspect?
Yeah, I'm fully in support of that. Reskilling, upskilling is extremely important because see, as I said earlier, a lot of things are changing. നമ്മുടെ മാക്രോ ബിസിനസ് വേൾഡിലുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നു എന്ന് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഐ വാസ് ടോക്കിംഗ് മെയിൻലി ഫ്രം ദ പോയിന്റ് ഓഫ് വ്യൂ ഓഫ് ദ ബിസിനസ് എൻറ്റിറ്റി. അത് കോമ്പറ്റീഷൻ, വേറൊരു കമ്പനി വരുന്നു, ഇതേ പ്രോഡക്റ്റ് ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നു, ഇതിനെക്കാട്ടും ബെറ്റർ ടെക്നോളജി വെച്ച് ചീപ്പറായിട്ട് ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നു, സോ കോമ്പറ്റീഷനിൽ നമ്മൾ താഴെ പോകും എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ നമ്മുടെ ഇൻഡിവിജ്വൽ ലെവലിലും നമ്മൾ ഓരോരുത്തരും ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു എക്സ്പെർട്ടൈസിനെ ബേസ് ചെയ്താണല്ലോ ഒരു കമ്പനിയിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. വൺ ഗൈ മേ ബി മെക്കാനിക്കൽ ഡിസൈൻ എഞ്ചിനീയർ, വൺ ഗൈ മേ ബി എന്താ പറയുക ഒരു ചാർട്ടേഡ് അക്കൗണ്ടന്റ്, അങ്ങനെ പലതരത്തിലുള്ള പ്രൊഫഷൻസ് ആയിരിക്കും ചെയ്തത്. ഈ സംഗതികളിലൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ആ ട്രഡീഷണൽ ആയിട്ട് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങളുടെ എക്സ്പെർട്ടൈസ് ഒക്കെ നാളെ മെഷീൻസ് ടേക്ക് ഓവർ ചെയ്യുകയും കണ്ടമാനം ഓട്ടോമേഷൻ സോഫ്റ്റ്വെയർ ഒക്കെ വന്ന് നടക്കുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് നമ്മൾ ഒരു മാനുവൽ എക്സ്പെർട്ടൈസും സ്കില്ലും നമുക്കുള്ള സാധനങ്ങൾ പോരെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ വീണ്ടും സർവൈവ് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് എന്താണ് നമ്മളെ തന്നെ റീസ്കിൽ ചെയ്യുക അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അപ്സ്കിൽ ചെയ്യുക, ഈ കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യണം. അത് നമ്മൾ തന്നെ അതാണ് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ മാക്രോ എൻവയൺമെന്റ് സ്കാനിങ്ങിൽ കൂടെ നമുക്ക് ഐഡിയ കിട്ടും എന്തിലാണ് നമ്മൾ പോയി സ്കില്ല് നേടേണ്ടതെന്നുള്ളത്. ആ ചെയ്യുന്ന അത് അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്ത് ചെയ്ത് തന്നെ നമുക്ക് സർവൈവ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റത്തുള്ളൂ. ദ വേൾഡ് ഇസ് ബിക്കമിങ് ഇൻക്രീസിംഗ്ലി കോമ്പറ്റീറ്റീവ് ആൻഡ് മോർ ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ട് ആക്ച്വലി. ദാറ്റ് ഐ എം ഫുള്ളി ഇൻ അഗ്രിമെന്റ്. ദാറ്റ് നീഡ്സ് ടു ബി ഡൺ. പക്ഷെ ദെൻ വി നീഡ് ടു ഓൾസോ നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾ വരയ്ക്കണമല്ലോ. ഇപ്പം ഓരോരുത്തർക്കും ഓരോ കേപ്പബിലിറ്റിയും ഓരോ കോംപ്രിഹെൻഷൻ ലെവൽസും ഓരോ കാര്യങ്ങളും ഉണ്ട്, ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റും ടേസ്റ്റും ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടല്ലോ. അപ്പം റിക്വയർമെന്റ് ഇന്ന പോലെയൊക്കെയാണ് വരുന്നത്, എന്റെ താല്പര്യങ്ങൾ ഇന്ന രീതിയിലാണ്. അപ്പൊ നമ്മുടെ താല്പര്യങ്ങളും റിക്വയർമെന്റും കൂടെ മാച്ച് ചെയ്യുന്ന സാധനങ്ങൾ കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് പോകാൻ ശ്രമിക്കണം. ഓക്കെ.
Okay, sir. The next question is, can you throw some light on quality reporting of the work done at different levels?
Can you throw some light on?
The quality reporting of the work done at different levels.
Okay. Quality എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, we all know that quality for any business, the product or service that any business gives to the customers, quality is something of extreme importance as far as what goes out of the organization, out of the company, from a customer's point of view. That quality to the client can be achieved only if the internal systems are all in line with that. അല്ലേ, നമ്മുടെ ഒരു മാനുഫാക്ചറിങ് പ്രോസസ് ആണെങ്കിൽ the end product quality will be ensured only if all the internal processes and all the steps, each and every intermediate product stage, everywhere the quality is compliant. It may not be going to customer at that stage. A final stand ready. But that is regarding the process of a manufacturing. Even manufacturing, even the administrative processes, files processing, data processing, ഇതിനകത്തും എല്ലാം ഈ പറയുന്ന ക്വാളിറ്റി എൻഷുർ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് ആണ്. എവിടെയെങ്കിലും എറേഴ്സും പോർ ക്വാളിറ്റിയും വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അതെല്ലാം നമ്മുടെ ഫൈനൽ അഫക്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത് നമ്മുടെ പ്രോഡക്റ്റിന്റെയോ സർവീസിന്റെയോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മുടെ സർവീസിന്റെ ക്വാളിറ്റിയെ അഫക്ട് ചെയ്യും. അപ്പോൾ എല്ലാ ലെവൽസിലും ക്വാളിറ്റി എൻഷുർ ചെയ്യണം എന്നുള്ള കാര്യത്തിൽ സംശയമൊന്നുമില്ല. അതിന്റെ റിപ്പോർട്ടിംഗ് സിസ്റ്റം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഇറ്റ് ഡിപ്പെൻഡ്സ് അഗെയിൻ ഓൺ ബിസിനസ് ടു ബിസിനസ്, എൻവയൺമെന്റ് ടു എൻവയൺമെന്റ്, അത് മാറും. അതിൽ എനിക്ക് ജനറൽ ആയിട്ട് പറയാവുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യം, ഇപ്പോൾ ഈ വി ഓൾ നോ ISO 9001 is the quality management system which is internationally accepted as a tool for what you call ensuring consistency of quality. അപ്പം ഒരു പർട്ടിക്കുലർ ബിസിനസ് എൻവയൺമെന്റിനകത്ത് നമ്മൾ ISO 9001 ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ISO 9000 പ്രൊവൈഡ് സർട്ടൻ ജനറൽ ഗൈഡ് ലൈൻസ്. ആ ജനറൽ ഗൈഡ് ലൈനെ എടുത്ത് നമ്മൾ ആ പർട്ടിക്കുലർ കമ്പനിക്ക് വേണ്ടി സ്പെസിഫിക് ആയിട്ട് നമ്മൾ അതിനെ അഡാപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് വരുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ആ കമ്പനിയിലെ എല്ലാ പ്രോസസ്സസും മാപ്പ് ചെയ്യപ്പെടും. ആ മാപ്പിങ്ങിനകത്തൂടെ ഓരോ സ്റ്റെപ്പിനകത്തും വേണ്ട കാര്യങ്ങളും ആ ഓരോ സ്റ്റെപ്പിനും ക്വാളിറ്റേറ്റീവായിട്ട് നടക്കുന്നുണ്ടെന്നുള്ളത് എൻഷുർ ചെയ്യാനുള്ള റിവ്യൂ മെക്കാനിസവും ഫീഡ്ബാക്ക് മെക്കാനിസവും റിപ്പോർട്ടിങ്ങും നോൺ കംപ്ലയൻസ് റിപ്പോർട്ടും എല്ലാ സാധനവും അതിനകത്തുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ആ പീരിയോഡിക് റിവ്യൂസിൽ കൂടെ ഈ ക്വാളിറ്റി വിൽ ബി എൻഷുർ. സോ ഐ വുഡ് സേ ദാറ്റ് ടു എൻഷുർ നമ്മളെ റാദർ ദാൻ റീഇൻവെന്റിങ് ദ വീൽ, ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ്സ് ഇന്റർനാഷണലി അവൈലബിൾ ആയ സ്ഥിതിക്ക് ക്വാളിറ്റി എൻഷുർ ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് ഒരു നമ്മൾ തന്നെ വേറൊരു സാധനം കണ്ടുപിടിച്ച് വീൽ റീഇൻവെന്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകണ്ട. വീൽ ഇസ് ഓൾറെഡി ദേർ, വൈ ഇറ്റ് ഹാസ് ബി റീഇൻവെന്റഡ്. ISO 9000 പോലത്തെ സിസ്റ്റംസ് ഇംപ്ലിമെന്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നതായിരിക്കും നല്ലത്. സോ യുവർ എൻറ്റയർ ക്വാളിറ്റി മാനേജ്മെന്റ് സിസ്റ്റം ജസ്റ്റ് ടേക്കൺ കെയർ. പക്ഷേ ഇത് ഇംപ്ലിമെന്റ് ചെയ്യണമെന്ന് പറയുമ്പം ഒരു കാര്യം പ്രത്യേകം ശ്രദ്ധിക്കേണ്ടത്, there are a lot of companies who implement all these ISOs merely for an image sake. അവരെ എക്സ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പൊ ISO ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവർ അക്സെപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യത്തില്ല. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് നമ്മുടെ വിസിറ്റിംഗ് കാർഡിൽ ISO 9001 സർട്ടിഫൈഡ് കമ്പനി എഴുതാനുള്ള ഒരു ഭംഗിക്ക് ഒരു ഇമേജിന് വേണ്ടി മാത്രം അതല്ലാതെ ജെന്യുവൻ ആയിട്ട് അതിന്റെ സ്പിരിറ്റ് ഉൾക്കൊണ്ടുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മുടെ ഇന്റേണൽ ക്വാളിറ്റി സിസ്റ്റംസിനെയും ക്വാളിറ്റി കൺസിസ്റ്റൻസിയെയും ഇംപ്രൂവ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി കാര്യമായിട്ടൊന്നും ചെയ്യാതെ ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു നെയിംസേക്ക് കൺസൾട്ടന്റിനെയും വെച്ച് ഒരു സംഗതി ഉണ്ടാക്കി ഒരു സർട്ടിഫിക്കേഷൻ എടുക്കുന്ന ഒത്തിരി കമ്പനിയുണ്ട്. അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട് യാതൊരു പ്രയോജനമില്ല. ശരിക്കും ക്വാളിറ്റി ഇംപ്രൂവ് ചെയ്യണമെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അത് വളരെ ജെന്യുവൻ ആയിട്ട് തന്നെ ചെയ്യണം. ചെയ്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ എല്ലാ സ്റ്റെപ്സും ഈ റിപ്പോർട്ടിങ്ങും എല്ലാം ശരിയാവും.
Okay, sir. Moving on to the next question. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Hello? Yes, sir, you're audible.
Hello?
Hello, sir, you're audible.
Yeah, okay. I'm just waiting for your next question.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay, I'll start again. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics quoted, "Is not recent. Any data from India on percentage of failures of SME? Any comments on use of government initiatives?"
Any comments on?
Any comments on use of government initiatives for the percentage of failures of SME?
Any comments on use?
Yes, sir, use.
Government initiatives ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നത് വേണ്ട പോലെ ഉപയോഗിക്കാത്തത് കൊണ്ടുള്ള ഫെയിലിയേഴ്സ് എന്താണെന്നാണോ ചോദ്യം?
Sir, should I repeat the question?
Yeah.
The US Bureau of Labor Statistics quoted, "Is not recent. Any data from India on percentage of failures of SME and also any comments on government initiatives?"
No, എൻ്റെ കയ്യിലുള്ള സ്റ്റാറ്റിസ്റ്റിക്സ് അതേ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നുള്ളൂ. That may not be recent, but the latest statistics on failures I do not have. But I don't think it will be very much different because SME failures ഇത്രയും ഒക്കെ തന്നെ സംഭവിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. പിന്നെ ഗവൺമെന്റ് ഇനിഷ്യേറ്റീവ്സ് ഉപയോഗിക്കാത്തത് കൊണ്ടെന്നുള്ളത് കാണുമായിരിക്കും. ഇപ്പൊ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഓൾ ഓവർ ഇന്ത്യ ഓരോ SMEs ഫെയിൽ ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നതിന്റെ ഒരു സ്റ്റാറ്റിസ്റ്റിക്സിനെ ബേസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടല്ല ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്. ഫെയിൽ ചെയ്യുന്നതിനകത്ത് പല കാരണങ്ങളുണ്ട്. അതിൽ ഗവൺമെന്റ് കൊടുക്കുന്ന പല ഇനിഷ്യേറ്റീവ്സും അല്ല പല ഇൻസെന്റീവ്സും ഉപയോഗിക്കാത്തത് കൊണ്ടുള്ള ഇഷ്യൂസ് കാണും. അതിനെപ്പറ്റി അവയർനെസ് ഇല്ലാത്ത ആൾക്കാരുണ്ടാവും, അതുണ്ടാകാം. പക്ഷെ അതിലെല്ലാം കൂടുതൽ ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ആ ബിസിനസ് റൺ ചെയ്യേണ്ട രീതിയിൽ അത് റൺ ചെയ്യാത്തതാണ് പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട കാരണം എന്ന് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു. ഗവൺമെന്റിന്റെ ഇൻസെന്റീവ്സ് എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്ന ഒരു പരിധി വരെയൊക്കെ ഹെൽപ്പ് ചെയ്യുള്ളൂ. ഇഫ് ദേ themselves run it in the proper manner with a proper business plan, with a proper direction and a proper strategy, that is the main thing. ഇൻസെന്റീവ്സ് ഒക്കെ നമുക്കൊരു certain level of ചെറിയൊരു ലെവൽ ഓഫ് സപ്പോർട്ട് മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ. അതായത് ഇൻസെന്റീവിനെ മാത്രം ബേസ് ചെയ്ത് ഒരു ബിസിനസ് സക്സസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. ആ കാലമൊക്കെ പോയി. Some states were giving, പണ്ട് ഈ GST ഒക്കെ വരുന്നതിന് മുന്നേയുള്ള കാലത്ത് some states were giving വളരെ റിമോട്ട് അണ്ടർ ഡെവലപ്ഡ് ഏരിയാസിൽ ഇൻഡസ്ട്രി സ്ഥാപിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ യു ഗെറ്റ് ടാക്സ് ഹോളിഡേ ഫോർ 10 years 15 years. അതിനെയൊക്കെ ബേസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് റോ മെറ്റീരിയൽ വയബിലിറ്റിയോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മാർക്കറ്റ് നിയർനെസ്സോ ഒന്നും ഇല്ലാത്ത സ്ഥലത്ത് പോയിട്ട് നമ്മൾ പ്രോജക്റ്റ് സ്ഥാപിച്ചിട്ട് അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ ആൾക്കാർ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ അതെല്ലാം പോയില്ലേ ഇപ്പൊ. സോ ഇൻസെന്റീവ്സ് ഇമ്പോർട്ടന്റ് ആണ്, പക്ഷേ ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് വി ഷുഡ് നോട്ട് ഡിപ്പെൻഡ് ഓൺ സച്ച് ഇൻസെന്റീവ്സ് അലോൺ. We should look at the business and we should do the proper thing, proper planning, and strategization should be okay. All the steps should be okay. It should be done in a disciplined manner. It will become okay.
Okay, sir. Moving on to the next question.
Aishwarya, may I interrupt?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So sorry to interrupt. We are getting late. We will stop at this time. And the remaining questions will be collected from the chat box and sent to Mr. Roy Kurien and get the answers and give it to you. Sorry for the inconvenience. I share you may proceed with the remaining part of the program.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, Roy, sir. It was a very insightful Q&A session. Now I welcome Ms. Nesma from IEEE to propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Aishwarya. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you're audible.
Good evening, all. Thank you all for attending the 69th talk of the Intersociety Weekly Webinar Series.
First and foremost, we would like to thank Harindra Lal Sir, the chairman and organizer of Intersociety weekly webinar series, whose dedication has led us to conducting 69 talks so far without a break on every Wednesday. We would also like to thank Mr. Roy Kurien, who was our keynote speaker for today, and he has answered a lot of the queries that has come in from the audience. So thank you, sir, so much. Our Intersociety weekly webinar series is hosted jointly by the Institute of Engineers India Kerala Seat Center, IEI, Computer Society of India Trivandrum Chapter, CSI, Project Management Institute Kerala Chapter, PMI, Internet Society Trivandrum Chapter, ISAC, Vakkom Moulavi Foundation Trust Trivandrum, VMFT, IEEE Engineering in Medicine and Biology Kerala Chapter, EMBS. We would like to thank all the organizations involved in our initiative. Today's Zoom control was handled by Sumaya KA from IEEE. Our MC of the session was Aishwarya. Thank you, Aishwarya. The welcome speech was handled by Amina M. The introduction to the speaker was handled by Adla Bashir. We would like to sincerely thank all the role players who have made our session such a wonderful session. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the attendees of our session today. Over to the MC.
Okay, thank you, Nesma. This is now you're seeing is a weekly webinar series for the next week. It is hosted by Dr. Siraj Soman, who is a scientist and CSI National Institute of Interdisciplinary Science and Technology. And the talk will be on nature-inspired personalized photovoltaic technology. And it is hosted usually from 6 to 7 p.m. on next Wednesday, 11th of August. Thank you all for participating, and thank you, sir.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Roy Kurien.
Thank you, Mr. Harindra Lal and your entire team. Thank you very much.
Very good interactive session. And sorry for cutting short the interesting Q&A because it's too late. So
yeah.
I will,
actually, if we had, I wanted actually more of interaction, so that people can. It was very, very good. Actually, a lot of things people asked, and to some extent, I was able to answer. And there is a way that is very nice.
I have collected the remaining questions, which I will be sending to you. I hope you will answer them and send to me back, which I will be distributed to the participants.
It's a very, very good initiative that you have taken. Every Wednesday you conduct this, and people.
One more thing I want to mention. Normally, the percent participation ratio is previously it was 50%. Recently, it has come down to 30%. But in your case, it is 86%. So it's a very great thing. Most of the participants who were registered has attended or are interested in the topic, and they have attended, and they have.
Okay, that is the actually attended to registered. That's the ratio.
Yeah.
Okay, attended to registered.
Initially, it was 50%. Recently, it was come to 30%. Okay. Seeing the registration low, I was very much apprehensive about that. But I saw the participation level has even gone to 85%. It's a very great achievement that I bestow to you that credit. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And I am obliged and grateful if in some small way I could enlighten people with whatever I have learned in my journey. So
it was a very, very great experience. I'm talking on behalf of the other participants. Definitely, it is a great experience from your experience. Yeah, that's a very great thing. Thank you very much. And thank you once again for your time taken and come over here and for the presentation and giving the question and answer very interactive way in a very active form. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. So shall I log off now?
Yeah, thanks all the participants. I will invite you for the next talk by Dr. Suresh Sherman from the CSIR NIST, Nature Inspired Specialized Photovoltaic Technology Naturally. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sumaya, you may close it.
Yes, sir.